Hey guys, it's Whitney, and welcome back to another episode of Spastic Chatter. Spastic Chatter is a platform meant to feature those in the Cerebral Palsy community, and I get together weekly with individuals with CP, like myself, to have an uncensored chat, if you will, about what it's like living with this type of disability. And for this week, I have Juan, and I came across his story from oh Jamie at Cerebral Palsy Sunrise. She did an interview on him, and I watched the interview, and I thought he was a pretty awesome person, so I wanted to have him on Spastic Chatter. He is a published author with Cerebral Palsy, but I'll let Juan introduce himself, and then we'll get on to the conversation.
Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure being here with you today. Like Winnie said, I am a published author. I started with self-publishing, and now I have a book deal with Stratton Press, and my new book will be out in 2021.
That's awesome, and we're gonna get into that because that's kind of a big deal to get picked up by a publishing company. So, but before we do that, I want to start from the basics. What got you into writing?
Well, I I always loved telling stories, even before I could read. I couldn't read until the age of 11. So what I would do was I would tell stories to myself to entertain myself because because of my cerebral palsy, I had an overprotective mother,
Yeah,
and so I wasn't allowed to go outside. So I would tell stories to myself. I would make up stories in my head. And then later, when I taught myself how to read at age 11, I just became infatuated with books. I could be anything in books. I no longer could be disabled in books. I was in one book. I could be a knight in 1248. In another book, I can be some great lover and, and not even have to worry about being in a wheelchair. So reading was a great escape for me. And
that's
so I loved it ever since.
that's awesome. So so I can kind of relate because I grew up and I love to read, and I actually I'm a writer myself, and I love to write. So and you said that you like to tell your stories where you could be wherever you wanted to be, and I like writing because unless I tell the person that I have cerebral palsy, they don't or they know me personally. The person reading what I'm writing doesn't know that I have a disability. Like so that's one way to get my voice heard. It's like you know what I mean. Like to, for someone to take me seriously. That in a way, in some ways, they wouldn't take you seriously because of your disability. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Um. So what was you mentioned that you did self publishing. What was your first book that you wrote?
My first book that I wrote was a poetry book in 2011. I was 26 years old. It's called Poets, and in there I had poetry that was written a long, long time ago, from when I was like 12, 14 years old. But that book didn't go nowhere. That book was actually stolen from me by the publisher, which I will not mention because I don't want to tarnish his name. He's on to
Mm.
different things, but I don't want to tarnish his name. So that was a bust. Um, Later, I went with another self-publishing group, and I published this book called Tears of War, and I wanted to tell a story about a physically disabled man like myself who falls in love with an able-bodied woman that doesn't have cerebral palsy. Um, people and them people that know me didn't like that story that much because
Yeah.
they have this how do you say this squeaky clean image of me, and let's just say in that book I got sexually explicit,
Yeah.
and people couldn't imagine a disabled man, you know, having sexual intercourse with.
Yeah. Exactly. So you kind of broke the mold. You kind of broke the mold with that book.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it was pretty fun to get the reactions from people, and of course you get the ignorant people that say, "Oh, could you guys really do that?" Yeah,
Yeah. Of course. So what's your? So you don't just write about disability. So I like that. I like that. From what I got from Jamie's interview, you don't just section yourself off as a disability writer. You write about a lot of things, correct? It's not
right.
disability. So I like that. What's your favorite genre to write?
My favorite genre to write is I like the street novel. Writing about drug dealers and things like of that
Yeah.
nature. Even though I have no dealings with drug dealers. The, okay, what got me started in this genre is I'm a huge fan of gangster movies like Scarface and you know Godfather, and I didn't grow up in a squeaky clean neighborhood, so you know I sometimes you get to run in with certain people at school, and then you learn about who they are, and then that interests me, but not in a way to get involved with what they're doing,
Yeah.
but just to show their human side.
Exactly. I like that. So you kind of use your surroundings as as an influence for your writing. Not so much. If I'm correct, like you didn't get into like the nitty gritty stuff, but like you got to influence your creativity,
Yeah,
right, to write the book. I
yeah.
like I like that. So tell me about your your most recent a book got picked up by a well-known publisher. What publisher is that?
Stratton Press. They're an imprint of Simon and Schuster. Um, in my last interview, um, I had trouble answering that because it skipped my mind. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's an imprint of Simon and Schuster, and they picked it up, and it was really um, published by a small publishing company named Conglomerate Inc. And they picked it up, and it got some good reviews. And I got a call from this, publishing company, Stratton Press. They said they were interested in rebranding the the book, and so pulling me back became a tale from West Side Wilmington,
Yeah.
and that's how that's how I got the deal. And there, I don't want to get anybody's hopes up, but there are talks, cross my fingers, there are talks of a Netflix deal with the book. So,
That's awesome.
you know,
So,
I'm kind
so
of about that.
yeah, that's very cool. So, what is your process for writing? Do you use your laptop to write? And
Well, what's it's funny you should say that. I have a desktop computer. Actually, where I'm talking to you right now, this is the actual computer that I use. So I don't have any voice, any voice decoder like Dragon or anything like that.
yeah,
Because with our cerebral palsy, our voice is erratic.
yeah, it doesn't understand half the time for
Yeah,
our yeah.
yeah. So our voices are very erratic. It goes high and it goes low, goes all over the place. So what I do is I type with my one index finger.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
how long so for those watching and listening, how long do you think it takes you to write a chapter of your book?
To write a single chapter. Well, it depends because some chapters can be shorter, some chapters can be long.
Yeah.
I like to have 10 pages a chapter,
Mhm.
at the most 15 a chapter.
Yeah.
So that would take me like about, if I'm really, really determined,
Yeah.
that'll take me the whole day. The whole day. And
To
so
write 10 to 15 pages?
I'll tell you the truth. I would have to get up at, let's say, 7 in the morning, and I will end up writing all day until 7 at night. So basically, it's like a real full-time job for me.
Yeah, but if you think about it, because you're only writing with your index finger, that's pretty fast for just your for a whole to write a whole chapter with just your index finger. It only takes a day. That's pretty that's a pretty good skill. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And
um no problem. Uh so when you got this when you got this deal, what was your first initial thought when they called you? You might have already answered it. I think you answered it, but I don't know. You can
no,
answer it again.
I didn't answer it, but you know, my first initial thought, you're gonna laugh at this. I thought, are these scammers? You
Yeah.
know, because I myself, this might sound a bit weird. I myself, as a writer, I consider myself an artist, and
Yeah, totally.
never considers himself, you know, perfect at what he does. He will
Yeah.
always, he will always find flaws in whatever he does. No matter how much people praise him, he will always find flaws.
Mhm.
So, me personally, pulling me, I didn't like pulling me back, to be honest. Personally, my opinion, and people look at me weird when I say this. Um, but people who have read the book say they love it. They love the main character, and I'm very, you know, I'm very thankful for their feedback and their opinion.
Yeah.
But um, like I said, I don't like my own books. As a matter of fact, I cringe whenever I read from my own work.
Really?
Yeah, like it's funny because I have a friend. His name is Patrick, and I've known him since high school. And whenever he wants to, bug me, he'll he'll read from
That's
the books, and then I'm like,
funny.
"What the hell up, dude? I don't
Yeah,
know."
that's funny. That's funny. So the book that you Simon and Schuster is publishing, is it cerebral palsy related, or is it it's just a book you wrote?
Well, there's one character that has CP
Oh, cool.
in there, but he comes later in the book.
Cool. So he's not the focal point or the focal character. It's like the main character. He just like comes later in the book.
Um, I hope I'm not giving away too much of this. Let's just
No, I
say
don't want to give a.
that's
To give it away, you don't have to talk about it. No spoilers.
no. I'll tell you this. Let's just say he's the reason why. I'll leave it at that. He's the reason why.
Cool. I like how I like what you're describing, because it seems like you're representing cerebral palsy, but it's not like the whole premise of your book. Like you're putting other parts in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like my idea is to with books is to give people, make people with cerebral palsy active members in the world, where well, basically I'm trying to normalize cerebral palsy.
Yeah, that's very cool. Like you're not what I'm trying to get at is like you're not trying to like be like this inspiration porn, as they call it, like making them like, you know what I mean, making it the focal point of the book. Like you're trying to make it seem like they're just like average, like normal people, and you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, and also, I also, with my stories, I want to, you know, I don't want shock value, but people will get shock value because uh, a person with disabilities doing something that a normal person can. And I hate using the term normal person.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah, I know. Like I have to think about like the terms I use, and then I'm like, well, hell, I don't know what how to say it any other way, so I'm just gonna say it. So yeah. So this passing, this podcast is all about being real, and we're being real right now. So
and I wrote a story. It's in it's an anthology with other writers who I admire dearly. By the way, they're some of the best writers in the world to me. It's part of this anthology called "Off with um His Head," and it's a Valentine's anthology. And there's a story called "The Safe Guy." And the narrator is this individual with cerebral palsy, and his main focus is that he's in college and he's sleeping with his best friend's dates. He sleeps with every single one of them.
Yeah.
And then he brings them to such ecstasy that they end up leaving his able-bodied friend. And like he's called the safe guy. You know, that's the title. But in the book, he's a real asshole. He's arrogant. He's cocky, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, I like what I'm hearing with all your stories because it's like you're in it for the shock value. Like that's like totally something I like and enjoy. Like you're not playing it safe when it comes to like
uh, I you're gonna laugh at this. I even have a scene in there where I describe a strange way of oral sex, but which shocked a lot of people.
really because because they don't expect a person with a cerebral palsy to write that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is for somebody that reads your book, what is one takeaway you want them to have as for you as an author? Like, does that make sense?
For me as an author, I want people to not look at me, not look at my physical, look at my work as a human being.
Yeah.
I think I had told this to Jamie in our interview. My ninth grade teacher, my ninth grade English teacher, asked me why I love writing so much, and I said because when I write, people are able to read what I write, and they don't see a disabled person; they just see a human being.
Exactly. That's very true. So at the end of every episode, I always ask my guests if they have any advice for people in similar situations or for anyone watching right now. So, Juan, do you have any advice for people?
Just to, you know, the worst. I'll say this: the worst prison that anybody is the mind. Because once you let your mind become a prison, you can't do shit.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
if you let yourself, if you think of yourself as a disabled person, then you will be a disabled person. But
Yeah,
if you think of yourself as this, you know, regular man with emotions, regular female with emotions that can communicate with others, then you have no problem. People that will radiate, and people will come to you because they will like your personality. You know,
yeah.
don't let your mind become the present.
I can totally agree with that and relate to that statement. So, Juan, where can people follow you on social media?
Right now, I have both a Twitter and a Facebook. However, I don't use my Twitter that often. I haven't been on my Twitter since 2017.
Oh man.
And
So,
that's
if they want to follow your journey, can they reach out to you on Facebook?
sure can. I'll accept her, friend request. And,
Cool. Cool. Well, thank you, Juan, for being a guest on Spastic Chatter. I really enjoyed talking with you.
all right.
And for those of you watching, if you want to be a guest, there's always a link in the description or you can comment on this video wherever you see it. And until next week, or check back next week for another episode of Spastic Chatter. Thanks. Bye.